Hello, hi. I am Lucy. I am from Quebec, Canada.
Hello everybody, I am Shamil and I am from Russia.
Welcome everybody, my name is Julio Gomez. I'm from Caracas, Venezuela.
I am from Mexico City.
Mexico City, okay.
Yeah, greeting everybody. I'm Behram from Canada, but originally I'm from Persia.
I'm originally from Russia.
Hello. Yes, this is Bizo from Cairo. I am original from Burundi, and I'm currently living in Egypt.
I am Olga, and I'm from Australia. I'm from Melbourne. I'm living in Melbourne, but I'm from Russia originally. Yeah.
That's the quote. I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. Who wants to give that a shot?
Julio.
Okay, Julio. Great. Go for it. What do you think that means?
Okay, well, it means that we have the ability to remember the things we see, and we can because we can forget them quickly, and if we put them into action, it will be better for our brain to remember them. It's just that if I learn something and I put it into practice by teaching someone else, that will deepen more in my brains, and in that way it will become part of my own self. That's what I gather from what I read from.
That's very good.
There.
Yeah, right. There's something, I guess, what this is saying, this quote seems to be saying that there's something about who we are as human beings that, things are harder to remember if we just hear it, depending on where our minds are at. All of our brains are different. Some people do better with that. Some people don't. And when we put things into action, when we actually do it, if we're learning something and then we put it into action, our brain tends to remember it. It seems to stick. It seems to stay with us longer, more deeply. Anyone else have an idea about that, or does somebody else agree or disagree or want to add to that?
Yeah, Bizo.
Yeah, Bizo, go for it.
Yeah, I think I agree with this kind of quotes. Of course, we hear and we forget, and we see, and also we remember. So I can see that if you see something, it is among the things which different people learn through. So there is some people who are visual. They can hear, but they forget easily. But when they see, it will be more important and more effective way to remember things. So I can say visual also. I can say the people who learn through visual learn by seeing what they are learning. That's what I have to say about I see and I remember. So.
Okay. Right. And what's kind of interesting is the quote says, I see and I remember. So, like you're talking about, perhaps a visual learner, will remember it, but the last phrase says, I do and I understand. So what's the difference between remembering something and understanding something?
Shamil?
Yeah, Shamil.
I think a very good example is swimming. You can hear about swimming and know what to do and how to swim.
That's right.
But if you see and you remember what is it, but you can't really understand and repeat it. But if you try it and do it, you understand and eventually learn how to swim.
That's a great example, because, if you've never swam before, you can see somebody swimming and you can go, okay, yeah, when you say swimming, I can remember that. I kind of know what that is. But the person doesn't really understand what swimming is all about until they swim, until they get in the water and they have to feel what it's like for, a human body floating in water, having to move your arms in a certain way, having to breathe a certain way, having to make sure not to get water in your mouth, all of these many things that go on, with swimming. And so this idea between remembering and understanding, what do you think this quote is saying about that? About the
Bizo?
Yeah, Bizo.
Yes, I can say that to remember, you can remember something you already understood. So, and to understand something, you can understand when it is the first time you know it. So I think the difference between remember and understand. And of course, if you do, we come to understand, to put into practice what you've learned or about the theory you've learned maybe at school or somewhere else, it will make you the understand of what you have learned. So if you can't practice what you have learned, which means you have you don't know how, you didn't understand exactly what you have learned. So to do is what proves that you understood.
To do is what proves that you understood. I like that. That's a really good analogy. So, of course, one of the reasons why I put it there, because I believe it connects to language learning and speaking, with English and all of this sort of thing. And, that we need, like I can tell you how to pronounce something. I can make a video that shows the mouth position and everything. But you have to do it. You have to do it, and you have to do it a lot, practice it, make mistakes. You have to try to do it with some people who know whether it's right or not, so they can help you.
Yeah, Olga.
Yeah, Olga.
I think when we do things, that experience become part of us. When we see it's a bit on the surface, how to say, it's too small. And when you do things, it's like it's coming through us, that experience, it become part of us.
It becomes part of us. Yeah.
We are having that experience. That's what they are having.
You're having the experience instead of just kind of like thinking about it.
Just when we see things, we only use one type of sense, like one part of sense involved. It's seeing or hearing. It's partial. But when you do things, like all five senses get involved, and it becomes part of you.
Yeah,
part of your being.
Yeah, I like how you use it becomes part of your sense. It's like it makes me think. You feel it. You feel it.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah.
It's like I can think about. I could read something in the newspaper or watch something on the news about some people who are starving somewhere in the world, and that's one thing. I can think, that's terrible, that's bad, I feel bad for those people. Okay, but it's a whole difference to know what it feels like to be very hungry.
To experience.
To experience that. And to not know where your next meal is going to come from, how I'm going to survive. I mean, that's a whole different world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean... Yeah, go ahead, Bizo.
Yes, adding to what you've said, there is saying that you can't claim that you've fully understood something unless you can explain it to your grandmother. So, of course, if you say that you understood something, in order to prove that, you can explain to someone. If you can't, mean that you not yet. You haven't understood it already.
So are you saying that's like a saying that comes from your country or something? Like if you can't explain it to your grandmother, then, you don't really understand it.
Yes, exactly.
That's interesting. I've never heard that before, so that's a good one. I guess it depends on how healthy your grandmother is, and
yeah, exactly.
how much she's comprehending any language for that matter. But I like that. That's interesting. I've never heard that before. Okay, so obviously it's like my idea behind this is to speak a lot, and my mantra, the thing that I'm always saying to my students is, try to find, many ways to practice speaking, which tonight is one of them. So, you're talking to me tonight, and you can ask me questions and say, hi, I don't understand, about this or about that. Or David, did I say this right? You can do that. So this is, one opportunity, and hopefully, you'll find other opportunities in your life to do that, so that you'll just get better and better, more confident. You'll feel better. I mean, everything just starts getting better and better for you.
That's right.
Okay, let's go on to another one. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. So who wants to take a stab at that?
Who said that?
I don't know. Some of these quotes just come up anonymous. So,
anonymous.
Yeah,
It wasn't you.
No, it wasn't me. No. It wasn't me. So who would like to try? Oh, everyone's so shy. Come on. This is your chance to speak English, even if you're not perfect. Don't worry about that. We just want to talk to each other a bit tonight. So, who wants to try?
Olga.
Okay, Olga, go for it.
I think we have to enjoy things. If you want, you can only achieve good results or great results in what you like to do. You have to enjoy what you are doing. Because, for example, I'm doing business now. If I won't enjoy it, it will be difficult for me to do. And if I enjoy things, the time can fly faster.
Okay.
Because I'm enjoying it. I'm getting some pleasure, satisfaction.
Okay.
So I can spend for example, I'm not earning anything, like already 1 month, but I'm doing research and I'm preparing myself.
Right.
And I don't have income, nothing came yet, but I put a lot of effort for that. And I'm still putting effort because I like it, and it's still okay. If I wouldn't like that, what I'm doing, I would give up after maybe 1 week. But now it's okay. 1 month, but I'm still doing it.
Okay, well that's good. Okay.
My enthusiasm, my experience with enthusiasm.
Okay. So that's
yeah.
That's a good take. Anyone else want to give a try at that as well?
Bizo?
Okay, Bizo, go ahead.
Exactly. Of course, if you want to do anything effectively or to be successful in everything you want to know, you have to love them. You have to love it. You have to feel it. You have to really to have desire and say that I want to do it. So if you don't want to, maybe, for example, if you don't want to learn, for example, English, if you don't want to learn, of course there is no book or no class, and also there is no any teacher who can try to make the English simpler if you don't like it. So you have to make sure that you ask yourself whether you really want to learn, or you really want to yes, to practice, and also you love that what you want to learn. That's what I have to say. That you have to be enthusiasm, and you can, yeah, just love it and enjoy what you do. That's how everything can be successful when you are learning.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Now, I mean, there are, things like we enjoy in life, kind of like what Olga was saying, and there are things that are important for us to do, and maybe at first we don't find so much enjoyment with it. So what do we do?
We can try to motivate ourselves, no matter whatever it is.
To motivate ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Just to even if you don't like it, just make it very important to you. And if you see that it is difficult for you, just try to find someone who can help you have different idea in order to make your goal more successful and become simpler for you. So you just have to, of course, to push yourself, to do everything, whatever it takes, in order to stay on track.
Okay, yeah, good. You said a lot of things there, and I just want to comment on a couple of them. One was you said to push yourself. Now, that's an interesting idea, push yourself. And you said, like, you have to love it. It's interesting that, like, to love is a verb. It's an action. It's not a state of being. Like, if I taste something I like, it's like, that's good. It just kind of happened. But to love it or to get enthusiasm is something I actually have control over. I can make myself get excited about something. Even if I don't have a lot of enthusiasm about it in the first place, I can control my mind because I can look at, I don't know, I can look at a car and I can say, I don't like that car. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the color. But I can also choose to say, that's an interesting car. I don't know much about it. Wow, I bet there's a lot of interesting things about that car I can discover. I can take a different view of that same situation and be enthusiastic about it. Wow, I would love to sit in the driver's seat of that car. Ooh, I'd like to see how fast it can go. I can go on and on about that, right?
Okay, good idea, yes.
So, and then you said you have to motivate yourself. And, if we say, how do I motivate myself? How do I do that? Well, what I just mentioned is one way. It's about controlling this thing, controlling our brain and saying, okay, I want to achieve certain things like language. Acquiring English can be kind of difficult. People give up this sort of thing, but sometimes we just let that power of that negativity take over, and then we stop. But if we say, hey, I can speak to different people, I can laugh at myself when I make a mistake, so I can kind of have a fun time with it. It doesn't have to be like frustrating, and I don't have to get down upon myself. If somebody maybe laughs at me, I don't have to give that any power. I can still keep trying and that sort of thing. So,
yeah. I agree with you.
Okay, good. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, Behrang?
Yeah, Behrang, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to add some comments here about motivation. Maybe the good thing about motivation is sometimes we just fantasize about some things that we don't touch it. If we have just some way to touch it, then we can have more enthusiasm about this thing. For example, I have an example here. Assume that you'll like to learn language. So we just think about language, okay, it's very hard to learn it. I have to do a lot of things. But what we can do, we can have, for example, hanging out with a friend who is very good at English, for example, and see how's his communication with the people that know, for example, his English is good, so we can just go out, have some friends, and have a good connection with environment. So I think if we just to think about touching things that can help us, maybe, yeah. And another thing I would say is complying our desire is the best way to touch success.
Now, just clarify that for me. You said what and desire?
Complying, following.
Oh, following, like comply with something. I see. Comply, following, and desire. Ah, okay, I like that.
Yeah, following desire is the best way that we can touch successness. It's the first place we have to think about that, I think so.
Yeah. Hook on to that, to your desire, and then do some practical things and connect with people, like you were saying, who may speak English well and things like this. I think that's very smart. Lots of things we can do. Lots of things we can do. You know, you don't have to follow one traditional pathway. There are many pathways, and what matters is to get closer to your goal, which is speaking the language better, using the language better, all of that sort of thing. So yeah, I like that. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Let's see. Let's be positive. Okay, so this part of the lesson, you know, what I'd like to do is just go around. Some people are a little more quiet and maybe not used to the format, and what we can do is, you know, talk a little bit about some speaking skills, and I can give you some phrases and we can speak them, and you know, I can give you some tips and this sort of things, and if you have any questions, this is a good time to ask it. So what I'd like to do is go to some of the newer people and maybe start off with Irina. And Irina, hi, yeah, you want to...
Hi, I'm here. I heard a lot, and I think maybe when we start learn English, we always must think about children. You know, children always have good mood because they good searcher around. They found everything, and sometimes very hard, sometimes they fall off, but wake up again and start again. I think so we need to have same motivation like children. Go, and you will be successful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, I think a lot of us as adults forget that we were all children and that, you know, we didn't know anything when we came into this world, and we had to learn everything, and it was all about making mistakes, and just like Irina was saying, they just keep going forward. They don't care so much. It's just like, okay, I made a mistake, you know, while I'm learning, boom, 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 they go forward, and, you know, eventually they get it, right?
Okay, they also say, I will try again, repeat, and I will be successful. I be very good in the future. Correct, the children position.
That's right. I wish we all did that with language, because it's like, if that wasn't true, all of us would be crawling still. We would not be walking, right? It's like that stage of crawling when you're kind of a baby and then you start to walk. Well, you fall down many times, right?
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe we fall down and cry, you know, but we get back up.
Yeah, exactly. And no one was born, of course, being good at all things. Yeah, people do become good through hard working, through practice, and through learning. That's how people become good to certain things.
I think
so no one was born being good.
Yeah, right. I think something happens to a lot of us when we grow up and become adults that, you know, we get more fear inside of us. And I think maybe these children, like Irina was saying, they don't have as much fear. You know, they don't let the fear get in their way. Otherwise, they would still be crawling, and they wouldn't be speaking much in any language.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Exactly, yes.
Maybe they have negative experience.
What's that, Olga?
Children, they're like playing. They don't have no positive, no negative experience. But adults, they have many negative experience, and that's what prevents us. That's where the fear comes from the negative experience, I think.
But if the child falls down, isn't that a negative experience?
But we have more than just falling. We live many years, so we have many kind of
that's a good
strong negative experience.
That's a good point.
That's why we are different from children, because they're living for 1 year, I'm living for 40 years. I have many negative experience, and that prevents me to. That's my fear comes from, maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe that's what happens to us. Maybe after a certain amount of time, it starts to affect us more, and when
crystallized, like it's become like crystallized.
Yeah, it hurts more.
It becomes solid, like solid.
It becomes solid. Okay.
Solid.
Yeah, I guess we can look at that many different ways. It becomes more heavy and that sort of thing. We start to think about it more. Maybe when we're kids, we don't think about it so much. It's interesting. During my life, learning different things, I've heard, teachers, coaches often say this phrase. They say, "Don't think, just do it." And I think a lot of times with learning language, we think a lot. We think, how are they going to judge me if I say it wrong, if I mispronounce it? What are they going to say about me? And there's too much of that kind of self-consciousness going on. Steve Ryan calling. Okay, now I got people. See, now people are coming in late, and all these people are trying to get in, and
I think Oksana wants to participate.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of crazy when we come in the middle. Let's see who can not on the call, all contacts. Let me see if I can take 1 second and try to get some of these people, because they keep trying to contact me, but okay, Furman, I can try him. And let's see. Oh, there's Oksana. And some of these people aren't saying that they're available. They're not green. You got to make yourself green, in Skype for me to add you. So we'll try to get a few people in and see what's going on. Okay, we're just adding a few people in the call. So, Oksana, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I think I'm
Hi,
getting...
everybody.
I'm not sure if that's you, Oksana, but I'm getting some background noise. Sounding like a fan or something. I'm not sure.
Not me.
Not you. Maybe it's not. No, not you, Olga.
I think.
Not you, Olga, because you've been on for a while, so you're fine. Maybe it's Furman. Hey, are you there, Furman?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Furman. I might be getting the background noise from you. I'm not sure.
Yes, I know.
Can you put on a headset or something, so we don't
I
hear
have one.
Okay. And let's see, is Steve here?
Yes. Hi.
Yeah, hi, Steve. Wow, your voice is really scratchy.
Hello.
Yeah, it's not sounding too good, Steve. Oh, yeah. Does everyone hear that? All that scratch. Okay, so are you there, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah, your microphone isn't really working too well, Steve. It's really kind of loud and scratchy. So I'm not.
Okay, let me try.
Oh, now it sounds very different. Now it sounds better.
Okay. Yeah, because of volume, I think.
Okay, maybe your volume was up or something like that. Okay. Okay, right now it seems okay. All right. Well, let's just, since we have a few more people, and then Roman wanted to get in, but I don't see Roman in Skype, and I don't see, is Roman in the chat? And we have, oh, Steve, you're in the chat, very good, and Furman's in the chat, very good, and Oksana is there, okay. Okay, and Ilgar, do you want to be on the call? Because I don't think you're not on with us in Skype. Okay, so let's see, could anyone be able to sign in? Steve, okay, well, I don't know. Okay, so let's, Oksana, can you introduce yourself real quick? Hello,
Yeah.
Oksana?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Oksana. I'm originally from Russia, but for the last 3 years I'm living in America with my family and kids. My husband, 2 kids.
Okay, very good. Okay, good to have you back. And let's have Steve. Why don't you go?
Hello. Hi, my name is Steve, and I'm from Alberta, Canada. I have been here for about 10 years. I'm originally from China.
From China, okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good, very good. And where did we lose Furman? What happened to Furman? Okay, he was in the chat. Okay, well, you know, I'm not going to go back and forth. If he can jump back in, he'll jump back in. Okay, so where were we? Well, Skype, of course, okay. So what I was segueing into is talking a little bit about pronunciation and some individual problems that you might have, or any questions about the lesson one. Those of you who have been in the course before, the lesson one has changed a little bit as I'm developing the class and this sort of thing. So it's a little different than before, and we had several things going on here. It starts off with a listening portion, and there's a quiz for that, and then I want to ask a little bit about yourself, and then we go into the part about being proactive and all of that. And sometimes when we first get into that, some people get a little confused about that. What it means to be proactive and this sort of thing. So we can talk about that, and we can also talk about specific pronunciation issues and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is just open it up to the group right now. We have a larger amount in the group, and open it up to questions. It can be about anything in the lesson or anything on pronunciation. So just say your name, and then when I call on you, just tell me your question. Don't be shy.
Barang?
Okay, Barang, yes.
Yeah. I have this question about pronunciation of R, which is very hard for me. I think it's very hard for everybody, maybe. And so I need some recommendation or something to help me. It's really hard for me.
Yeah. Well, one of the issues with you pronouncing R is you roll your R from where you come from. So the mouth position is very different than the North American R. So if we came up with a phrase like I ran in the race, that's a simple phrase, And I can type this. I try to get this in the chat so you can see it if there's any confusion. I ran in the race. So it should come up in a second or two on the chat. Can you just say that phrase for me and let me hear how you say it.
I don't have your phrase.
Okay, are you in the chat?
Yeah, it comes. Okay, I saw it.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
I ran in the race.
Okay.
I ran in the race.
Okay, yeah. Actually, pretty good. You're making it. You can make it sharper. Like when you hear me say, I say I ran. Now, there's different ways of finding the sound, and I've said this before. Teaching the R is one of the more, if not the most difficult to teach, because it's hard to show what's going on with the tongue, and everybody's mouth is a little different. So it's like tuning an instrument. You got to tweak it. On one guitar it may be this way, on another guitar it may be that way. So the tongue is curled, but it's not touching the top of the mouth, and it's in the middle area of the mouth. Okay, the back of the tongue is touching the top molars, these back teeth, the back of the tongue. So the two, we can picture two things going on with the tongue. If this is the back of the tongue, the back area is touching the molars. The front is curled, but it's not touching the top. So I'm trying to hold it right now, and it's hard to talk when I'm doing that. But if I make the R sound, I can make it pretty sharp. Ran the race. I ran the race. Why don't we try I ran the race better, and then we can have an R sound at the end. I ran the race better. Try that, Barang.
Okay. I ran in the race better.
Yeah. So the better was the weakest of your R's when it hit at the end. Better. And sometimes people can really find the sound if they push their lips out. If you look at me right now, I say better, and I'm pushing my lips forward as I'm doing those things with my tongue. The back of the tongue, at the molars, curling. Better. Try that word, Barang.
Better.
Okay, well, that's an improvement. Who else is having trouble with the R sound?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Biza, why don't you try that same phrase? I ran the race better. I'm just adding that on. I ran. I should type this in.
Okay.
Like that.
I ran in the race better. Sorry. I ran the race better.
Better. Okay, so I'm, like with you, it's a little different because I'm hearing your mouth is more rounded, like better, and you need to close your mouth a little bit more. I ran. Yeah. That was nice. Better. Try to really find that better.
Better.
Okay. That's an improvement from before. Try saying the whole phrase again.
I ran the race better.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Now, what I'm guessing for both you and Barang is, you said it pretty good here, like when I'm working with you, but what may happen is when you start getting into a real conversation with somebody, when you're not thinking about it, then you start to lose the R sound. Do you think that happens?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
This is my problem.
Yeah, right.
All things you just said, I've heard before, but when I'm talking, like now, I just miss it. That's the problem
Right.
that I have.
So, okay. So let's think about that for a second and talk about that for a second, because that's a very important point. Because students are at all different levels with this. Like some are just learning, like let's say the R sound, so they just need to practice it and they can't really even make it that well. And then you start learning about it. Now remember, this is one of the more difficult sounds because of all the different positions of the tongue, and you can't see inside the mouth. And it's very foreign to your native language, that your tongue just isn't used to doing that. So how do we get, if we can do it here when we're thinking about it, how do we make the step from here to real conversation, like what we say in linguistics, authentic conversation, when we're not thinking about, because we can't think about every sound when we're having a real conversation. So any ideas about that from the group? How do we get to that next level? Okay, Steve, we're getting a lot of noise from you. Got to be careful there. Anybody have any ideas? Want to talk about that? Okay. Well, let's have Barang, then we'll go to Bizo.
Okay, the thing is, just you mentioned, I think it's just practicing.
Okay.
And as you mentioned your videos before that, the learning sounds like an instrument. We have to think. We have the pressure of pressure of weather. Everything is it's like instrument, and we have to just work it out. I mean, I think there isn't any way except exercising. Now I got it. I have to just exercise. I'm talking, and I don't know if other people know anything to add.
They will come when it will become automatical.
But how will it become automatic? By
just have to adjust exercises more.
Exercise more,
and playing piano, you just learn to play, and then you look at the notes to form some music. Then you just play it by your memory, in your hands knows where to go. Some people can play without looking even at it with the closed eyes.
That's right.
I think it's become like part of you. So
right.
You think about that.
Yeah, that's where, exactly, that's where we all want to get. We want to get to the point where we don't have to think about it, where it comes more naturally, so that, it's not just when you're talking to somebody like me and, and I'm kind of working with you and that's good. But then when you go out into the real world, it gets dropped. So we don't want to think about, that's good. And then Bizo, you had a comment?
Yeah, just wanted to add to what they said. Of course, to practice. And as we all know, practice is what makes things perfect. So the more you practice, and the more the fewer mistakes you will make. So I think the most important is just to practice a lot. Okay. Either in the classroom, either in this classroom or outside. So just to practice, and after that it will become automatically, and you will feel more comfortable, and really you will enjoy. That's what I can say about it.
Okay, yeah, nice.
This is Lydia.
Who's that? Oh, Lydia, yeah, go ahead.
What about yourself, Dave? In your own experience, what can advice, what directions can you give to us?
Sure.
To make
okay, sure. Okay, well, I agree with what was saying, what has been said so far. I think, okay, and I think many people would agree about practice and everything, okay, but it's a little more complex than that from my perspective, and I'll try to explain that. Now, I could say practice, but, okay, how are we going to practice? How is it really going to work in my real life, in your real life? Because all of us, we're all talking right now to each other, which is great. It's so much fun. We're all from different countries, and we're all talking together right now in this call. And we're all trying to work on, the similar goal. Now, but our lives are all different. Some of you, are working and blah, blah, blah. I could go on and on to describe all the different lives. Some of you are more busy than, it doesn't even matter. The thing is, how can we make it happen? Now, what does practice mean? Does practice mean I stand in front of a mirror and make the sound and stare at my lips and my teeth and my tongue and that sort of thing? Does it mean I read something from a phrase or a book and then I say it out loud? Does it mean I talk to somebody in English? What does practice mean? So let me ask that out to you, and then I'll give you my experience with that.
Shamil.
Okay.
Yeah, Shamil, go for it.
I think it's everything what you mentioned, because we practice in many ways, and by this we can really advance.
So your point is to mix it up, to not just practice one way, to have like a variety of ways and try to do that consistently, like every day. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Ah, very good. Yeah, I like that. You know, and I just want to comment about that because there's also something about the human brain. All of this has to do with the human brain. You know, if our brain picked up languages really easily, you know, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We would just have it. But there's something about the human brain. It takes time, you know, our brains are different, blah, blah, blah. So we're trying to understand this thing that's in our head called the brain and how it works and how we can make something like language hit us. And but to further what Shamil was just saying is there's something we know about the human brain, which is when we do things in different ways, the brain tends to remember it better. So if we break it up and make a variety and maybe look at ourselves in the mirror, read something out loud and listen to ourselves that way, talk to like a native speaker, or at least have some practice speaking English, and maybe talking to somebody like me once in a while, breaking that up helps it to remember more. Does anyone else have any other ideas about how to practice in your real life so that you can really do it and it really happens?
Bizo.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, of course, to practice, to put into action what you've learned, to have regular activities, and just to train, and of course to really work hard. And if we are talking about to practice, are talking about to repeat the things which that you have learned. Of course, the more you will practice, and the more you will have it. So if you practice more, you will have it more. If you practice less, you will have it little.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds very wise. Very good. Now, in my experience, I'll tell you a few things. One is that, like, okay, the R sound more difficult. Now, there's many things I can think about that I'm concerned about maybe learning if I'm a student of English. But I believe it helps to simplify and to focus. So if I'm working on the R sound, maybe what I need to do is tell myself, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm only going to focus on the R sound. I'm not really going to worry about the other sounds so much. Okay? Because I really want to focus on one thing and put a lot of energy in that so that my brain does not get too distracted. Because I know this is a harder sound. I need to devote a little more energy to it and not worry about some other sounds. And if I can do that, that simplifies it for me, so I'm not worried about, oh, I'm trying to work on the v or the f sound, you know, and all these other sounds, and you can go on and drive yourself crazy. So perhaps, and this is what I have done in my life, sometimes when I felt it was needed, I would just, you know, focus on one sound, and that's my, you know, it's like, that's my mantra every day for 2 weeks. So I do little things, you know, and it's not just about what I do, but these are suggestions. And I think, you know, a lot of times people hear these suggestions and they think it's cute or they think it's original or interesting, but then they never really do it, you know, and it's about action. We talked about it in the quote. Try it. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. But But, okay. Lucy, we're just getting a little sound from your microphone there, so try to keep that down. When I wake up in the morning, what I often do is you know these Post-it notes? It doesn't matter. You don't have to have this exactly, but they have a stickiness on the back, and I'll write something, and I'll stick it on my bathroom mirror. So when I wake up, that's one of the first places I see. I go to the bathroom mirror. It reminds me. Now, I can practice it for a minute, 2 minutes. It doesn't have to be long, okay? And I think about different stages in my day, like could be lunchtime. So how am I going to remember it during lunchtime? Well, maybe I set an alarm on a watch. Maybe I set alarm on a cell phone. Everybody seems to have cell phones these days. If I don't have I could write it down somewhere so I see it. And I'll put notes. In my car, I'll put a note so that when I get in the car, instead of just maybe listening to music, I'll spend a little time doing this. So I'm hitting my brain with it several times a day. I'll also challenge myself. It's part of my daily schedule. Okay, 2 challenges for Dave today. One is I need to speak to at least, 2 people in English and use the R sound, and that means I'll think about it, okay? But I'm getting closer to not thinking about it. And I'll give myself another challenge. Maybe I have somebody in my life that's a native speaker, and I'm going to ask them a question about my pronunciation with the R sound. Okay, so I challenged myself twice. I said, I'm going to practice it when I wake up in the morning, at lunch, maybe afternoon time, at dinner time, and before I go to bed. Now, that may seem a lot, but I'm talking about, hey, if I only practice it for like 1 minute, what's the big deal? It doesn't make any difference in terms of my job, in terms of my family, in terms of anything. It's 1 minute each time. But the thing is, if I repeat that practice in different ways, like 5 times during the day, my mind will start to absorb that new way of doing things.
It's very inspiring, Dave. You like?
Yeah.
Very inspiring. I would like to be like that.
But the thing is, okay, like I use these things all the time because why? Is it because I'm so smart? No, it's not. It's just because I know my brain, it takes a while for my brain to absorb something new. So I know for my brain to absorb that new thing, I've got to remind my brain many times. Now, I'm busy just like everybody else. So how am I going to remember? Because if I just tell myself, okay, Dave, I want you to practice that 5 times a day, you know what's going to happen? I know it's going to happen. I'm going to forget. And maybe I'll remember it once during the day, maybe twice, but 5 times, no way. And then I'll go to bed and I'll think, oh, man, I forgot. I was going to do that. Okay, tomorrow. And you know what happens. It never happens. But if I do this, simple thing, this is cheap. I mean, we're talking about just cheap piece of paper. Doesn't even have to be a Post-it. Can be any piece of paper. I could stick a piece of tape on my mirror. And it happens. I get it done. My brain starts to absorb it. And then I feel good about myself because I said, I found a way in my life to make it work, and then it happens, and I don't feel burdened. It's not like somebody's telling you, hey, you have to study for 3 hours and no interruption and just, even if you don't like it, you got to do it. That's not what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be actually very light. It's about quantity. Keep hitting the brain. Keep telling the brain. Because like Bahrain and Bizo, for that sound, the way you guys have grown up with your native languages, you just didn't have that R sound. You just didn't have it. So your brain is like, hey, I'm an adult now. I don't want to change. And that's why it's so difficult.
exactly.
And it would be the same if I went to your countries and tried to make some of the sounds in your native languages. My brain would be reacting the same way. So it's like, how would I, I would have to learn how to roll my R much better, or just to roll it in general. I would have to practice, I'd have to practice that sound, or else I'll never get it. And I have to tell my brain. And then, maybe it'll take a few weeks, maybe it'll take a few months. I don't know, because my brain is different than your brain. I don't know. But small time, keep reminding yourself you can do it. And you just got to find a way that you remember. And, you take a break between lunch. Maybe you have, okay, let's say I drink water a lot when I'm working. Okay, so I can take a note and stick it on my water bottle. It works. I do that. Somebody may see that note on my water bottle and they may think that's silly, or they may make a comment about it, but I don't care. I don't care what somebody else thinks. I'm doing this so I can improve my language skills, and that's a positive thing. That's a good thing. I don't care what a silly person may make a joke about or something. I'm educating myself, and I'm taking control, and I'm not going to let anybody get in the way of that. So I will stick this note on my water bottle, and I won't care. And actually, if that person is smart, they may say, hey, that's a pretty good idea. I should try that, So.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
I completely agree with you, with your technique.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I like that a lot. And I watched the movie Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
It's about a person who escaped from the prison, and he dig a tunnel of 2 kilometers probably under the ground, just to enough to escape out of the prison. And it took him, I think, 10 years, but he didn't give up.
That's right.
He was digging every day, just with the spoon. And if, for example, at the start you tell him that, it looked like miracle, but he was persistent. He knows he's just digging every day. He wants to escape.
That's right.
And after 10 years, it became a miracle. He just did that.
Yeah, I love your example, Olga. That's a great example.
Have you watched that movie?
Yes, I have. I love that movie. That's a great movie.
Very inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
Little by little, but continuously.
And that's a great, character that motivated himself. There was nobody else in that movie who motivated him, who was saying, come on, you can do it.
I think the motivation came from within, because
that's right.
He didn't want to stay in prison. He didn't want to accept that, to stay in the prison.
Right.
Yes? He was very motivated. I don't want to stay in the prison, so I want to escape. He had to aim to escape. He didn't start with his condition. He wanted to change the condition that was around.
Yeah, well,
it was unacceptable for him. Yeah.
He wanted.
But the problem with language learning, my problem, that we are taking language for granted. Okay. Yeah, I can talk I can pay attention and talk with the better pronunciation, and I might relax and not to put any attention and just talk with my Russian accent.
That's right.
Russian Sri Lankan accent, yeah. But yes, people still would understand me, yeah.
That's
Even my family, they would understand me. They don't understand it perfectly what I'm talking.
Right.
So I don't have that strong motivation. So I'm taking language for granted.
That's a good point.
Anyway, they understand, but I would like to, of course, improve it. In case of that guy who was in the prison, it was matter of life and death, and his motivation came from that.
Well, not necessarily life and death. I mean, he could have still lived, but he would have lived in prison. So.
Yeah, life in prison is like better.
Like that, yeah. Well, certainly, yeah. For for him and a lot of people, yeah. And for people who don't know, in the movie, this man was sent to prison, but he was innocent. He really was innocent. He did not do the crime. So he wanted to get out of prison, for, mainly, because he was innocent. And, he was a good human being who had a good job and a normal life. And he just felt like, of course, since he was innocent, that he should not be in jail. So that's why he wanted to break out of prison. It wasn't like he was a murderer and he wanted to get out. He was innocent. He was also, I saw Barang's comment in the chat room, and he said he was a smart guy, and I wanted to comment about that because, yes, he's a smart guy. He used his brain to deal with a difficult situation. And that's what we need to do here, too, because nobody's going to come to you with a magic wand and go like, ding, and there you go, now you can speak perfectly or very well. That's not the world we live in. He was smart. He made a plan of action. He motivated himself. Like Olga said, he got will from within. He got desire from within. He had a plan. He didn't even tell anybody about his plan. He didn't brag about it to his friends and say, hey, you know what? I got this little piece of metal and I'm chipping away at the wall, and in about 10 years I'm going to get out of here. Nah, he didn't tell anybody because he was smart. He knew that wasn't a smart way. So it's like us with language learning. What smart things can we do? Well, the note thing is one. Now, Olga points out that, she has a family and she can get away with not speaking English at a certain level because it's her family and they will understand her and she can live that way. But if she wants to take it up to another level, she has to change things. She has to make it happen for herself. She has to tell herself, well, there are times when I need to think about how I'm pronouncing things. And I can't just let that go all the time. I have to think about it. And I'm trying to look at here, what are people saying in the chat room?
They said they like my accent.
They like your accent, yeah.
Distracting me from work.
Well,
like
you do have
to improve, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting comment because, like the different accents that people have are very interesting. And, we could talk about accents, and a lot of people feel like, oh, that accent is so beautiful and that sort of thing. But, we're also talking about, communication at a certain level and being able to perform certain types of, jobs or career pathways and things like this. So, that has a lot to do with how, how standard do we want to make our if it's North American pronunciation you're trying for, how standard do we want to make it? And, some people will write to me and say, oh, Dave, I want to be just perfect. I want people to think I'm a native speaker. And they're really motivated to do that. And they go for it. And can they achieve it? Absolutely. Another thing that I think about that I'd like to share with you and I'd like to hear your comments about is think about actors in movies. Now, of course, America is a big producer of movies, and I'm sure all of you have seen at least some American movies. Now, a lot of these actors, they get parts. They get parts in movies, and maybe they have to play a Russian or a German or whatever the role is. Like there's Nicole Kidman. She's Australian, and then she has to often use an American accent. Now, Americans see Nicole Kidman in movies all the time. They think her accent, she sounds like a native speaker when she wants to. How does she do that? How does she do that? How do these actors do that? Well, they really absorb themselves in it. one of the theories behind how they do it so well is, well, they're highly motivated. They're getting paid a lot of money, you know. Okay, so that's a lot of motivation. If I offered you $1 million, you'd probably, you know.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. You know, no problem.
I might be perfect.
Yeah, right. You know, that's a big motivator. You know, there's
I will
also
go to the mirror every morning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you would. Many times. They, you know, they also have a deadline because the movie's going to start shooting at a certain date. So let's say the movie's going to start shooting in 3 months and they're hired for the role. They know if they do a bad job with that accent, they may never work again. Okay? And that's no good. That's no good for them. So they want to be able to work again. So they have a deadline. So they say, how am I going to get to that level of speaking in 3 months' time? So what do? They make a schedule. Now, these people have a lot of resources. They can hire coaches. They can get a lot of help that the average person, you know, just isn't going to do. But the thing is, they have a deadline. Okay, Lucy, your microphone's making some noise. Be careful there. Lucy. Okay. Maybe we got it there. Okay, so, you know, they have a schedule, and they say, they know, I mean, okay, so they're getting paid a lot of money, you know, and they can practice it a lot during the day. They have the luxury to be able to do that because that's their job, where most of us, we have to work, we have other responsibilities, our time is more limited. But the point is, they will not let a day go by without really working on that. Now, some actors are so motivated and are so dedicated, they will speak with that accent all day long to whomever. So, like, let's say, Olga, I know your husband is not Russian, but let's say you were married to a Russian man. If you were the actor who's one of these people who really goes for it, you would tell your husband, I'm sorry, for the next 3 months, I'm only speaking to you in English. And even though it feels weird, it's different because you've known your husband for years, you would do that. Why? Because of the goal is so important. You would speak to all your friends in English. You would make phone calls in English. You would do anything and everything you could do. So, with our limited time, you can all be like those actors, but you got to have a plan of action. If there's no plan of action, it's not going to happen because the brain just takes a while. Now, these actors say, I have a deadline, 3 months. I have 3 months until the movie starts shooting. I have to get it by then. So what am I going to do? Well, they do, like the character in the movie, usually they're smart about it. They don't just say, well, next week I'll think about it. No way. They start today, this moment, this instant, and they make a schedule, and they say, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? Every day, they have a plan for that. Now, if you were that motivated, and you worked on, let's say, one sound, like the R sound, I guarantee you, you will get it. And, you know, if you don't get it perfect, you're going to get it very, very close, and so close it doesn't even matter about being perfect. Your mouth will get comfortable. Your mouth will not be able to forget that position because it's been such a big part of your life. So that's the actor's story. Any comments about that?
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, who's that? Lydia?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
What could be your advice to make progress in the rhythmics?
With what?
To speak with, you know, a kind of rhythmics with American accent, which I how can explain to you to get the music of American accent.
Oh, so I believe what you're referring to is rhythm and intonation.
Rhythm, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, sounds pretty good. Or what are you saying? But which points or how can I make progress in the rhythm?
Rhythm and intonation, conceptually is, very similar to pronunciation in the fact that it's just something that needs to be practiced just like pronunciation does. The rhythm, is different than your native language. The intonation is different. But the thing is, you can't worry about all these sounds and pronunciation and all these different rhythm patterns and all these different intonation patterns at one time. But if you immerse yourself, like that's a term we use in linguistics, immersion. So if you immerse yourself in an atmosphere of hearing, listening to English like in a movie, you're watching some news that's spoken in like North American English, there's a lot of people who watch movies who are not native speakers and they never pay attention to the intonation. They don't pay attention to the rhythm. If you can watch a movie, now I'm not saying the whole movie, but you got to become active. You have to say, I'm an active learner. So an active learner takes control and says, I'm going to take control of this. I am going to do something. So you watch the movie, and in certain parts of the movie, you pay attention to the rhythm and intonation. And if you're watching at home, like on a DVD player or Netflix or whatever it is, you pause it for a second and you try to imitate that intonation in that phrase the actor just said. And you can even play it back and then listen to that actor again, pause it, try to imitate that, and then, let the movie go, especially if you're watching with other people. You don't want to drive them crazy. But if it's your family, they would be understanding if you did that maybe 2 or 3 times during the movie, and you could even make it a game and a challenge and make it fun. But you immerse yourself in it. You listen to it. You try to imitate it. You ask questions about it. It's the same thing with the actor. Nicole Kidman has to absorb and be able to produce the same rhythm and intonation as North American English speakers, because if she just gets the pronunciation and not the rhythm and intonation, she's not going to be believable. But she does. So she works on it every day. Is it a hard thing? No. Always make it fun for yourself. Do some phrases. Say some funny things. Read some dialogues that'll make you laugh. Read some dialogues that you find very interesting. You do it on a movie or on a clip from a TV show that you find very interesting, very funny, whatever it is. Enjoy it. Keep your enthusiasm high and immerse yourself in it. You can immerse yourself in it 3, 4, 5 times a day for a short amount of time, if that's all the time you have. But you immerse yourself in it, you'll get it, and then it won't be something you have to think about every day. So there you go.
I also find that...
go ahead, Olga, and then we'll go to Biza. Go ahead, Olga.
I also find that talking with children is also kind of very enjoyable way of learning English, because they never will judge you. Talking with adults, it's a bit, you can experience some tension, but when you talk with children, like 12 years old, 14, even 16, they never will judge you.
Yeah, that's
so
interesting.
I feel more relaxed to be an actor with the children to play the role.
Well,
but with the adults, it's a little bit sometimes might be difficult.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get, I know what you're saying, so I totally hear you clearly and understand that, and happens to me too. I'm no different than you or anyone else. I'm just trying to get people to, not feel so fear or anxiety with the adults. Just try to get this mindset where you're saying, I don't care what they think. But you're right. I think you point out something very interesting. If you have the opportunity in your life to talk to kids in English, I think that's a great thing to take advantage of. Maybe you have relatives or some friends have kids or whatever it is in your life. If you have the opportunity, and they can be teenagers or younger kids, whatever, it sounds like a good thing to take advantage of. And I haven't thought about that, but that's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I have a son and he brings his friends, and I found it easy to talk with his friends.
Yeah, I bet, right? Yeah.
And I can really play. I can play anything. I can be total fool.
Right.
But,
you can let yourself go, and that's the goal is to just throw yourself in, and you don't worry about anything, and you just speak it and you go for it, and you get more and more practice that way.
Yeah.
That's
just giving advice to other people.
Yeah, no, thank you. I want that. I want everybody to do that. That's great. Okay, Bizo, you had a comment.
Okay. The comment I have, it is kind of a request. I have a special request according to what others were talking about, how we can speak English fluently or perfectly.
Okay.
Or like somehow like native. I think there are some basics we have to follow or to work on if you want to speak really fluently. As you know, in our language or in our original languages, like our mother tongue or others' language, we do have only 6 vowels. So in English, I heard that there are more than 15 sound vowels. So when you are talking English or when you are trying to speak English, we just only use just 5 or 6 only. So it will be difficult for us to to adapt the really pronunciation, because there are some sounds which we don't know. So we can't really speak well if we don't have those 15 or more than 15 vowels. So I would like to ask if it would be possible to help us and give us some lessons on those vowels in order to try to practice more and to have really some basics which we can work on.
Okay. Okay, so you're mentioning vowels, and then I looked in the chat room, and like somebody said 15. Well, I mean, vowels by themselves, it's like A, E, I, O, U, but then we're talking about sounds. So, we could talk about vowel sounds, and then that's a different thing. So vowel sounds get colored very differently depending on different factors, like where they are in the word, what type of phrase. I mean, it can be very complicated.